Greetings, I am Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. I previously just talked about 3 non-anime series that I thought would bring very interesting worlds to your BESM game, and now I'm going to talk about how to use them in your BESM worlds. So let's just dive right into it and start talking about them. Let's talk about R.W.B.Y. Now for this one, I would assign 350 points. Your characters are going to be pretty powerful. They're going to know their stuff a little bit, because they're going to have to already trained a lot in their own home areas before becoming a member of the academy. Now you can make them a member of any of the academies. You could keep it to Beacon. You could do one of the other kingdoms, one of the other major cities, one of their academies. You could do any of that. You could keep it that it's the same one as the team from R.W.B.Y. What you're going to have your characters choose is they're going to have a semblance and a weapon that they're going to design. Now the weapon, of course, is going to have to go between being a normal weapon and a gun, because they all do that sort of thing. The degree of gun-based weapon and melee-based weapon, they can come up with interesting combinations. They show a lot in the series that are very interesting, and they could come up with one of their own. They could be as creative as they want to on this end. And with the semblance powers, they can do the same. They can be as simple as something like enhancing speed, using glyphs, using the shadows, the sort of rage. They each have their own sort of unique small abilities that they call the semblance. Just think of something that would give a good definition and could allow your character to enhance their abilities. They would mix and match with their gun and weapon play, and they might come up with special attacks with their guns or special things with their weapons that would be based upon how you want your character to work. Now again, as I said, make them students. I think that's maybe the best bet, is going to make them students in this world. If you really wanted to, you could give some more points and make them professional hunters already, but that's completely up to you. You could do that if you want. I would maybe give 50 to 100 points more if you're going to do that. But right now, I'm suggesting stick to similar to the show and keep them students in one of the academies, where they are learning about the things. They're practicing on grims. They're going on small adventures. They're training with each other. They're going to tournaments. You could have it match it. You could have them be in the same year and the same plot line as what's going on there. You could have it be on its own. You could have it be an older generation, a newer generation. How much you want to take in the series' actual plot, which is ongoing, so unfortunately that doesn't make it easy to really take in a lot of the plot overall. I mean, you can take on what they have so far, but you might have to pause it if you catch up to that point in time. And that's one of the things that I say disadvantage on a series that's ongoing, is you don't know where it's going to end up. So using it in sparse degrees is up to you how much you want to match it. You could expand on these and have a lot more adventures in one of these years, so to say, in this period of time, leading up to one of the other things. So I could mimic Season 1 for a longer period of time than they did themselves. I could keep going for a lot of adventures in it, so to fit and work. So let's talk about the next one. Let's talk about Parasite Eve. Now for this, I would either focus on one of the games as being your major plot line, or focus on just using the world in general and sort of putting yourself in between the games. The games are going to occur. It's just up to you if you want to put it I have it occur it's basically occurring during the game, after one of the games, in between the next one, and so on and so forth. That's completely up to you how you want to match that for your characters. I would make all your characters have similar abilities to Aya. Maybe they're not going to be as developed, and I think that's going to be one of those things. That's why I'm only saying 400 points here, which I forgot to mention where I did. Which is 400 points, which I'm not sure if I mentioned at the beginning of this tirade, so I'm just going to say it again. 400 is what I'm assigning. But regardless, so they're going to have abilities, and try to mimic what Aya has a little bit. I'd use the first 2 games as examples. You can look up the powers she has in both those games. Those are my favorite sets of powers, the combined of both of them. They both have really cool powers in both of them, and I think those are the better. The third game, I don't think the powers were as good, so I mean, if you really want to use them, go ahead. It's up to you. Again, as I'm saying, it's your version of this world. But I've said my preference. And you should focus on these characters being member of some kind of team, whether it's in the police department from the first game, or whether it's in the FBI, whether it's in a special organization like in the third game, anything sort of like that. You focus on these characters being members of a team, that they all have these abilities, so that it would be immune to the effects of other mitochondria, that they have their own powers, that they developed them for whatever reason. They found that they had them also in this city when these things were going down, if they're during the first game. And then you'd send them on sort of their own missions for that, dealing with threats. The mitochondrial creatures stayed around after Eve. You could have another person similar to Eve rise up. You could have a lot of different things. You could have an organization of them match your organization. I tried to do that in another role-playing game once. I didn't use BESM system. I tried to use one that I made my own. Worked okay. But the idea is that whatever you make for a plot line, it's going to be the parasites versus the symbiotic people, and whether and generally speaking, it's going to be this two-sided where it's monsters versus your people, and they're going to be immune. Most of them, they're going to be the people that are able to fight the monsters, regardless of which one of the storylines you sort of want to insert it into. So last, I want to talk about the Avatar series. I'm going to talk about, of course, the two of them together, but I'm going to go over it generally. Now, I would say go 300 points. You're not going to want any of your players to be the Avatar. I'd say that unless you really want to do a storyline outside of one of the two series, like either before it or after it, where you would make your own sort of Avatar character, you could. But then one of your characters would have more points to be more powerful than everybody else. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. As you can see, like, you can have a series with the main protagonist learning their abilities and developing a lot more, while another person might have lesser abilities but still be useful to it. But my real recommendation is to stick to everyone being benders, but being their own element. Now, depending on the series and the season you choose from is going to depend on a lot of the world that you're going to be in. We've seen with the different seasons and the different series is how things have evolved, and you can place yourself anywhere in these timelines. You could somewhere do in between the series, you could do after one of them, before one of them. It's given you a feel of how everything works, and you would choose bending powers based on that. You could just do a normal person that's just one type of bender. You could do someone that has one of the specialty abilities that developed it, one of the special abilities that, like, kind of sub-schools of bending under them. For example, fire has lava and combustion. You could have someone that would be one of these two in your group if you chose to. It would be your choice if you want to bring those in or not. Now, you're going to want your characters to develop combat based around their elements, of course. They have their sort of martial arts style that each of the elements mimics, but then you kind of bring in the abilities and attacks they use based on what they want to do. There's a wide variety of uses of all of the elements, and you can develop which kind of attacks and abilities they want to do on their own. They could develop their own style within it, that they could develop certain abilities which match what they want to do as much as they want to. So as I said, you're going to place your characters in the world. Now, I would have them go on like an adventure of whatever they have. Deal with whatever plot line's going on, or come up with your own plot line. If you're not using one of the seasons or season/series, then you use your own plot line. You know, you could easily fit characters into one of these plot lines and have adventures based around them very easily. Of course, again, you could make up your own for during the time periods in between any of these things, or again, before and after. They do give a lot on the world, and I would deal with your team going on some kind of adventure. Traveling is usually very easy to do. Dealing with people along the way, you know, they can of course be set in an area and deal with problems in that area. There are big cities. There have always been big cities in the area, and they could be stationed in a big city. Maybe that allows different types of benders. Or you could have your entire team be one type of bender, and that would be very interesting too. You could have like a team of earthbenders doing a kind of just things in the Earth Kingdom. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I talked about these three series, and I let you know how you could use them in your BESM games. If you have any questions, comments, anything to say, anything you think I forgot, please leave it in the comments below. Please like this video. It shows your support. It shows you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you already haven't. It also is another way of showing your support. It shows that you want to become a citizen and become a member of the Empire. And also, share this video if you know anybody that could learn from it, that would like this video. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.